Welcome to Coaching in Session,
where limits end and growth begins.
Hosted by Michael Rearden.
This is your space to challenge the ordinary,
unlock your potential,
and step boldly into your next chapter.
Your mindset journey continues.
It's amazing sometimes when you look at people and you see what they allot for themselves. Now, by that, I mean, what are they allowing in their lives? Are they allowing bad people in their lives? Are they allowing a bad workspace or career in their life? Are they allowing bad health into their life? Whatever they're allowing, we have to start to look at that. Because sometimes people can allow only the greatest things, the best things. And in a sense, I think people believe that they are doing that. They believe that they're giving themselves the best of the best. When in reality, they're giving themselves literally the bare bones, the bottom of the barrel. Whatever is left is scraps. And I talked about this quite a bit ago. Maybe it was episode 700 or 600, but I said that scraps are not for everybody. You don't want to go to the buffet and not see a plentiful tray of food. You want to see a tray that's abundant. Nothing's burned. Nothing's left over. It seems as if all the food at that tray or at the buffet is for you. Now, life can be the same way, put into the same view, where you look at all the abundance around you. But many people don't realize what their self-worth is. Many people couldn't tell you what they're worth an hour or a day. And this is even something that I had to struggle with early on. And I'm grateful that I had mentors that helped me realize and see what my worth was. And when I was able to figure out that worth, the self-respect followed. Because at times before, I would be hungry for validation. I would be hungry for the likes. I would be hungry for the admiration. And now I can care less. How can we get to that mindset where we're self-sufficient, where no matter what the world does, our world is paramount? And this is not to say that there's an ego there. This is not to say that there is this entitlement aspect here. This is this idea of what will you allow in your life? Now, we do have an article here to help us understand this a little bit better. The Psychology of Self-Respect, Why People Allow Less Than They Deserve. This idea of people taking less than what they deserve is going to be stemming from a lack of confidence. They can not understand their boundaries. They might not have set up their expectations. And they don't necessarily even know their personal worth and all the different values of their life or areas of their life. Because let's say I'm in a relationship and I'm with a woman who is really a bad woman. She is bickering. She is feisty to a negative degree. She's combative. She doesn't support my goals or my dreams, argumentative. And we can go down the list of just things that are typically not good in a relationship. Now, of course, I know some people, they might say, oh, I want a woman who's combative. I want a partner who tells me my shortfalls. And this is not the aspect of telling someone their shortfalls is belittling somebody, right? So you look down on somebody like, I'm better than you. You are garbage. I'm superior. You don't want that in a relationship. I understand that there's going to be dynamic, whether it's the man or woman, doesn't matter, where someone takes the lead role, right? The lead position. I pay the bills, or I pay the majority of the bills. I make sure everything is taken care of. I provide the food. I provide the shelter. I provide the safety, right? It doesn't matter who does it, right? Someone just takes the role. Is there a possibility that things can be split 50-50? Absolutely. But typically in those relationships, there's going to be a lot of animosity between the individuals. And it's not so much that they don't love each other. It's just that there's no clear expectation for how can I respect you if you're just doing what we agreed upon. And even though that's crazy to say, People are going to respect people who can handle their business. You're like, wow, this person can do that and they can do this. And if I had to do it, it would be very challenging. And I'm respecting this person to that degree, right? This is the same as in sports, right? Anyone can shoot a basketball. Doesn't mean that you're good at it. It doesn't mean you're going to make the hoop, right? You might not get any points in 4 quarters, but maybe you took 100 shots. Should you be in the NBA? Should you even try? Because it's easy to sit on the sidelines of the game and go, I could have did that. I would have made that shot, right? Because in hindsight, everything is clear. And right now, we have an opportunity to look at what we're allowing and what we need to disallow in our life. Because what happens, I see in many people, they'll settle for less. They are just not aware of their capabilities. Think of it this way. If I always told you that a bag of potato chips was $1, and I always brought you the bag of potato chips, and every time you wanted a bag of potato chips, I requested $1 from you. Now, you don't have to know the true price of the potato chips. You just know that my fee is $1. But I only pay 25 cents for the bag of potato chips that I'm giving you. So you're paying 4 times the amount for a bag of potato chips. Why do you have to pay 4 times the amount? And why do I make profit on you? Is it because you didn't know any better? Is it because you didn't do your homework? Or perhaps it's because you don't know how to do the work to see what is the value of something. Now, the value of something can be material or it could be a person. Now, in this article, we're talking quite a bit about people, but I want to talk about this idea of material first, because when we can get the material out of the way, we can get the people out of the way a lot smoother. Materials are going to be one of those things where if it's yours, you're going to have a perceived value of a higher notation than someone else. Think of when you have a garage sale. Maybe my headphones that cost me $300, I might say, well, I'm going to try to get $280 for them, or maybe $250. The reality is these headphones I've had for 2, maybe 3 years already. And maybe these are the outdated models. And the new outdated models are going for $189. So I'm thinking I'm going to get damn near the price that I paid, yet even market value has depreciated because something else has taken its place as newer and better. And so we start to look at that and we say, well, I want my headphones to be $280, close to the $300 that I paid, but the depreciation aspect has to be looked at as well. Now, this is true across the board, except real estate and, of course, antique things, paintings, coins, some vehicles that are going to increase in value with age, especially if it's taken care of. Because if these headphones became antique or they became a collectible, I know Pokemon cards, you would buy Pokemon cards for $3.99 for a little sleeve, a little pack. And now those little sleeves are going for $150 or maybe more, right? Depending on the pack, the weight, etc. Who would have thought? Because you might have said, maybe I should have never opened those packs and just kept everything in the closet. And that could have been my retirement fund. But no one necessarily knows what the value of something's going to be later on in life. But we can look at what the value is today and then have a perception, possibly what could be in the future. Now, this is not future-based thinking. This is just an understanding that your value can go up. Think of property. In Texas, for example, when Austin was still developing and Austin wasn't Austin, it was just kind of a few buildings, a hotel, the Toyota company, and that was it in desert, right? Now, it's a huge metro area where everyone wants to go visit to, right? Headquarters are blooming all around, and it's definitely the place to be. So people who had bought homes early on in Austin or they bought homes around the suburbs or the metro area of Austin, they might have paid $80 to $120,000, right? This is like in the 50s, 1950s, maybe even earlier, or maybe even a little bit later, because it wasn't until maybe 5, 10 years ago where the property value really skyrocketed. Because I remember when I was looking at homes, I was going to buy a home, I want to say 2018, 2019, around there. And I had stopped myself, not because of the market, or not because of, I wasn't ready. It was because one of the things I was looking at was I couldn't see what type of home I wanted to be the end. Now, I saw a lot of people at the time selling their homes because they got too big or their homes were too small. And I was thinking, I really don't want to do all that. I want to just make sure it's right the first time. Now, this is a mindset, because it is incorrect, and it is correct to some degree. I would say it's more incorrect, because I could have purchased a home for around 225, 250. And now those homes are going for 380, 450. So I could have made quite a bit of money in just a short amount of time. And the only thing I did was have an asset, right? Now, we know that single family homes are not assets, they're liabilities, they're negative cash flow, especially if you're living in them and you don't use them for any type of income. If you're going to get a single family home and you're going to rent it out, then sure, that's fine. But if you're going to be living in it, yes, I understand you're building equity in a home, but the reality is it's a sinkhole to what you can be accomplishing, because you could have used those funds to get a duplex, a fourplex, some apartments, something along the way, and created some cash flow. People are so quick to do what they think they deserve or what they want, rather than saying, hey, let me be methodical, let me be meticulous and do the right thing the first time. Because if they did that, they wouldn't be allowing so much negativity or harm into their life and their mind, because the self-respect aspect is dealing with what people are allowing in their life. Because if social media says that you need to buy a house and you need to buy a house, guess what you think you need to do? You think you need to buy a house, right? So a lot of people were buying homes because of fear. 2019, 2020, the pandemic, people were buying cars because of fear. Oh, there's not going to be enough. The scarcity mindset was there. And of course, people wanted to buy a nice home. The interest rates were, a steal. And now if you look at people are stuck in their homes. It's not because they can't sell them. It's because if they do sell them, they're going to get a higher interest rate. So at some point, or in their mind, they're stuck. Now, this is not to say everyone is stuck, but the majority of people are. And so they basically gave themselves a runway for what they were allotted. And I can only imagine, if you were a person who truly cared about yourself, why would you lock yourself down to a degree and not be able to get out, to be flexible? I think of, if you're digging a hole, right? Maybe you can be digging the basement for your home. Maybe you can be searching for gold or diamonds. But oftentimes people are digging a hole and they don't think of, how am I going to get out of this hole? So a lot of the people who are right now dealing with these homes and the new evaluation of their homes, because of property taxes, are killing people in Texas. So a lot of those homes are going to be in foreclosure. What do we do now? Do we say that we don't deserve homes anymore? Do we say that we need to reevaluate how we're thinking or how we are listening to people? It could be. But what I will say is that the only thing that we need to do today is we need to understand ourselves quite well. Now, this idea of respect, right? Because materials can be anything, right? It could be the car, it could be the house, it could be anything, right? The idea of the self, and this is where the blog truly brings home, right? The psychology of self-respect, why people allow less than they deserve. This article is going to be talking about all the steps that you can help to cultivate a better mindset to respect yourself more. Now, this is talking more of the personal aspect, like I was saying. When you're looking at this article, one of the first things that you're going to be paying attention to is your habits and your behaviors. You're going to be looking at, what am I doing constantly that is belittling me, that is showing people or myself that I don't need the respect. Maybe you walk outside and you're in tatters, you have holes in your clothes, your hair is unkept. Maybe you drive a beat down car. Maybe you're overweight, whatever it be, right? You basically look at yourself as a billboard that is not perfect. Now, there's an aspect to personal care, self-respect, that there's a fine line there. Because if you make the conscious decision saying, I'm going to wear this, I don't care what people say. I'm going to have my hairstyle this way, I don't care what people think. Because if you are baiting, and this is something that I think most people did early on social media, they would bait. They would put nice pictures of themselves online. How many Instagram models do you see that put pictures of themselves without makeup, or when they first wake up with bad hair? Not many, right? Of course, there's going to be some, but it's going to be far and few between. Most people, they only want to show you the best because they want to get, again, that feeling of self-worth, that feeling of validation, meaning, oh, people love me, people admire me, people want to be me. And it's easy for me to say, I respect Steph Curry, I respect it, and Kobe Bryant, I respect Michael Jordan. All of these things are, I look at someone, their skill, I see what they have accomplished, what they have done, and I can say, wow, this person has done great work. They have put in the work rather than just kind of coasted. Can you respect a person that's just given everything? And of course, they have some demeanor. Of course, they have the human aspect that everyone should be respected. But can you truly respect someone who's not self-made, that was just given everything? So I give you everything that you need, and now you expect everyone to respect you? Yeah, sure, you're going to get it from the fake people, but from the real people, they're going to say, did you even earn that? Can you respect the first place winner if they flew a helicopter from the starting line to the finish line? No, you couldn't, right? You respect the person who goes through the gauntlet. Right now, many people are in the gauntlet of their mind, their mindset. They don't understand the difference between respecting themselves and rejecting themselves. Because if you can't respect what you do in a given day, if you wake up in the morning and you can't respect yourself going to a job, meaning that you love your job and you're there for a good reason, you come home, you're not respected from the kids or your wife. And at some point, you have to think, your self-worth right now is probably looking very thin. You're like, man, no one loves me, blah, blah, blah. You're going to have a battle, and you're most likely going to come to the conclusion that, why should I even love myself? And most people, they love themselves to a degree, but can we say that they love themselves wholly? Can we say that they respect themselves enough to say no? That they respect themselves enough to not go along with a trend or peer pressure? They know exactly what they want. They're not afraid of becoming the outcast. They're not afraid of walking alone. They're not afraid to go out to dinner by themselves or to the movies by themselves. They can do everything by themselves, and they're choosing, and they make the choice, a conscious choice, to be around the people that they want to be around. And if someone is not jiving with them, if someone has a negative mindset, if someone is not fashioned to what they're looking for into their future, then they get rid of them, right? That could be an area of self-respect where you're saying, I'm not going to allow crap into my life. I'm not going to allow crumbs on my plate. And this is not to say that you won't have them in different seasons. This is not to say we reject them at every single time. There's an idea for self-respect. Sometimes they're going to say, hey, maybe I need to take a step back. And then oftentimes we need to say, we need to take some more steps forward. Because when we look into the mirror, we can see the surface level, or we can see down to the roots. And most people, they see what's on top. They will lie to themselves, and those blankets of lies, they become comforting, where they think they're respecting themselves. They think they're honoring themselves. They think that they're doing the right thing. But then again, that subconscious is going to ring true and it's going to always bring you back, because most people think that they don't deserve a lot. Most people, they just take what they get. They allow their circumstances to allow whatever life is given to them. And I'm here to say that you can choose whatever life that you want. It's a choice. You want to be happy, it's a choice. If you want to be sad, it's a choice. If you want to make money, it's a choice. If you want to be broke, it's a choice. I understand that there's people who have better circumstances initially starting off, right? This idea that it can be given to them, right? They are privileged to an extent. They had a good support system. But this is not to say that you need to have a sobbing party or a boohoo party or a pity party because your life is a little bit more challenging. I think that the more challenging your life is, the better the victory walk is going to be. The better the reckoning is going to be when you're starting to look at, wow, can I respect myself because I've walked all this way? Or I can respect myself so much more because I have walked the walk. I have talked the talk. I have done what needed to get done. Because anyone can start something. I think starting is probably one of the easiest things a person can do in personal development. The most challenging part is to remain consistent, to remain disciplined. Those are going to be the more challenging parts. Now, I understand that there's people out there who are having a hard time starting. I get it. But starting can be fun initially. But then when your body starts to hurt, your bank account seems to be a little bit lower because now you're investing in yourself or you're investing in a business, and you might have lost that safety net that you thought you needed. Most people can operate a lot less than what they're giving themselves right now. And the self-respect aspect is not saying that you require less or that you should accept less. It's that what you're doing for yourself is going to have a positive outcome in the end. So that self-respect aspect where you're looking at yourself, you can cherish yourself, where you love yourself, where you admire yourself. You need to get to that mindset. You need to get to that point. And it's not something that can just happen overnight. It's going to be something that you have to build to, something you're going to have to experiment with, something you're going to have to live in. Because the world might have been telling you something for a very long time, and you might have begun to believe it. And it's now time for you to start to tell yourself your own narrative, one that's more positive, one that's more uplifting, one that values you, one that's going to respect you, one that's going to cherish you and allow you to propel yourself forward. Not everyone is going to get there. There's still going to be people wallowing in their pity, wallowing in their sorrows, and they're going to be looking up for someone to help them. When the reality is they need to look down, plant their hands to the ground, push against the ground with all their might, strengthen their feet, their legs, their knees, and stand up. Because we have to stand up for ourselves, because at some point in our life, if we don't, someone's going to trample all over us, or they already are trampling all over you. There's this aspect that we have to stand our ground, and we have to believe that we are capable of great things in our life. That right there is going to increase the evaluation of just how much we can respect ourselves. Because I know I respect the people who try. I respect the people who keep on going. I respect the people who don't see all the fame and the glory and they smile still, because the process is where the joy is. They know that they're going to make it through if they remain consistent and diligent. But what happens is many people, they fall into the trap where they say, look at all the other people around me. They have all of these more wonderful things and I don't have it, so I must be less than them. The only reason you're less than them is because you said that yourself. And oftentimes we are going to be our own worst critics, our own worst enemies. And it's something that we have to change. This article here, The Psychology of Self-Respect, Why People Allow Less Than They Deserve, is going to be a great read. The read is going to be more so of helping you understand why people do this, and then giving some direction in how you can change this, where the change is not going to be instant, right? Growth is not instant. You can't just plant a seed and then all of a sudden the seed is a tree, or the seed is a tree that's bearing fruit. It takes time. And the same thing is true with our mind. It's going to take time for it to respect ourselves, especially if we've been living in a world that we're living less than what we deserve. And this is not entitlement. This is not an egotistical view. This is just you understanding what you are capable of. Because if you have done amazing things in your life before, you can do it again. You can replicate it. If you haven't done anything amazing yet, then that means everything you have done can be trumped, meaning it can be better, and it can be to the point where you might surprise yourself in just how far you can go if you put your mind to it. So look at yourself for what you can become. Look at yourself for someone who should be respected. The respect is just not given because we want it, but because we say that it's needed. We have to go out and earn it. So take time today to learn how to respect yourself, to learn how to see where disrespect is being spewed into your life, and then begin to make the changes. Because if we deserve more respect and we're not giving it to ourselves, let's start with ourselves, and then people will see the example for what we're creating for ourselves, and then they will too follow.